one of the most powerful manifestations of social behavior. We use language to send vital social messages about who we are, where we come from, whom we associate with. It is often shocking to realize how extensively we can judge a person's background, character, intention based on that person's language, dialect, or even the usage of a single word. Sociolinguistics studies that language variation and how it influences and is influenced by social variation, and also study how speakers work with that linguistic variation as styles, dialect, and their own language. Sociolinguistics lately starts becoming interested about the relationship between cognition and language, and that's why we have now two new areas of investigation, like the investigation on language ideologies and the difference or the relationship between speech production and speech perception.
We know that sociolinguistics studies variation in language use. It also studies the factors that lead to these differences, such as age, socioeconomic class, geographical location, and ethnicity. It studies how dialects and language varieties originate and how language users perceive the differences in language use, that is, language prejudices. It studies how language aids in the construction of social identities and how these social identities expresses under the forces of globalization, economics, and politics. It studies how languages come into contact and the phenomena that originates from it, such as multilingualism, second language acquisition, borrowing, code switching, and language shift, attrition, and death. And related to this point, sociolinguistics also concerns itself with preservation efforts of endangered languages and language varieties. More recently, we have applied sociolinguistics, that is, when linguistics use their knowledge to tackle issues of public concern that are language related. This has to do with education, healthcare, law, and the media. We know that language is a system that can be used to transmit bias and discrimination, and it can be used to create or perpetuate social inequality. Language use can either help or hinder the access of linguistic minorities to privileges and rights, such as formal primary education or appropriate healthcare, and the right of linguistic minorities to exercise their language-related identity.
I am going to talk about the history of sociolinguistics. In the 19th century, social aspects of language were studied in the guise of linguistic anthropology. In the 1930s, it was a popular field amongst Indian and Japanese linguists, and also to the Swiss Louis Gauchat in the early 1900s. But it didn't receive much attention in the West until later. The first attested use of the term sociolinguistics was by Thomas Cullen Hodgson in 1939 in the title of his article Sociolinguistics in India, published in May in India. In the 1960s was the first apparition in the West of sociolinguistics. It was pioneered by William Lopez in the United States, who is known as the founder of the discipline of the variationist sociolinguistics. In the United Kingdom was Basil Bernstein with his theory of language codes. In the 1960s also, William Stewart and Heinz Kloss introduced the basic concepts for the theory of pluricentric languages.
Language is one of the most powerful emblems of social behavior. In the normal transfer of information through language, we use language to send vital social messages about who we are, where we come from, and who we associate with. It is often shocking to realize how extensively we may judge a person's background, character, and intentions based simply upon the person's language, dialect, and even the choice of a single word. According to Oxford Dictionary, sociolinguistics is the study of language in relation to social factors, including differences of region, class, and occupational dialect, gender differences, and bilingualism. It has become an increasingly important and popular field of study as certain cultures around the world expand their communication base and intergroup and personal relations take on escalating significance. The basic notion underlying sociolinguistics is quite simple. Language use symbolically represents fundamental dimensions of social behavior and human interactions. The notion is simple, but the way in which language reflects behavior can often be complex and subtle. Furthermore, the relationship between language and society affects a wide range of encounters, from broadly based international relations to narrowly defined interpersonal relationships.